everybody. Welcome to a very cozy final 372 pages we'll never get back episode of 2023. Me and Mike read bad books on this podcast, and we're reading a bad one right now.
Wow. I don't think anything like this has ever, well, it hasn't. Nothing like this has ever happened that we know of.
No, I was trying to think of, the biggest events in the history of the podcast. And it's just been a while, but I think finding out that Charles Kim had rewritten Super Constitution is among the weirder things that has happened up there. But yeah. I think we have a top 3 situation on our hands right now. There's no reason to dance around it. A listener of ours, Jory, was doing some research into, I guess when you order these books that are, Amazon print on demand, which, a lot of the books we've covered on here have been, they come with this book was printed in Delaware or probably someplace closer to you. This one I'm holding here was Middletown, Delaware. But then I think Jory might be in Finland or something. He was like, why does this book, in the front of it say printed in the USA and Europe or something like that? So he's like, is this a boilerplate copyright page? He Googled that. And then he found just an example of another book that used the page on Amazon, which is How to Write and Market a Christmas Cozy Mystery. I'm holding it up right now, by T. Lockhaven. That's
grabbing a stand. I'll be right back.
A pseudonym. And I guess he went to T. Lockhaven's the Amazon page for this book, and he found screenshots of it, or like the look inside the podcast type of thing. Mike is rearranging his entire desk, it appears.
Sorry about that.
But so this is it's a book of prompts and writing exercises, what people like about Amazon Cozy Mysteries. It sort of, gives you examples of reviews, what people didn't like. It seems like a helpful book. It also gives you some examples or some outlines of how to write cozy mysteries that has this one for something that he's calling a ho-ho horrible death. For example, it has a house that's buzzing with activity as guests arrive. There's a crowd of people gathered around the piano singing jingle bells and a line of people filling their glasses with eggnog. Jane, the proprietor of this place, has even hired 82-year-old Walter Kringle to read The Night Before Christmas to the children. Suddenly there's a scream from the back of the house. Carol Baxter, hands in the air, rushes into the living room. He's dead, she screams. Santa is dead. The trauma doctor rushes over, kneeling beside Walter. She places 2 fingers on his carotid artery. There is no heartbeat. He's dead. So this is this goes on for about 8 pages of laying out the outline, he calls it, of this whole thing. It has maybe Santa opened the wrong door and caught Pastor White and Jillian Ross being romantic. Did something more nefarious happen? Did Santa get into a tussle? All these words might sound familiar. It describes this as the sheriff investigating. Walter was old, after all. Seniors fall a lot. The front of Walter's beard is brittle with dried eggnog. So he lays out like a very specific, it goes on and on. She's missing her watch and earrings. She creates a whiteboard with the guests' names on it. You can do this too for fun, he says. We'll cover things as we read them out of this chapter, but essentially this is what the author used to write the book. I don't want to say it's, I don't want to drop a plagiarism thing on it because
what is the definition?
Well, I think this guy says so for another example one, he says, let's create a murder together. Here's a storyline you can use based on the weightlifting incident. I feel like a lot of times a book like this would be like, this is a Creative Commons thing. Anything in here, adapt it on your own, remix it type of thing. He didn't explicitly say that, but...
I don't know. My reaction is sussy.
Yeah,
come on.
Oh, and this was good too. As we enter Act 3 with the stakes high, Jane's life is threatened, and one of her party attendees is a murderer. Parentheses. Oh, another name for this story could be A Killer Christmas Party.
Wow. I'll say plagiarism. Come on.
At some point, once he's wrapped it all up, he's given, he's told her how to end it. It's exactly as it happens in the book, almost exactly. But he says, again, this is your world. Let your imagination fly and have fun. So
we've seen the extent of her imagination, I guess.
Well, I will, Uncle Kid, I think, is a creator, a creation of hers. I like Uncle Kid, but yeah, it's unprecedented in the annals of this podcast is this type of situation happening. We always worry these things are going to be AI generated, but this is so much better than that could have even possibly having happened.
If this were a long book, would we shut it down?
Oh, brother, I think so. There's just so much. I mean, this is delightful that this happened on a 14,000 word book, but yeah, it's a little. I don't know. You don't want to reward. Who cares? It's not that big of a reward, but it's you don't want to encourage this. I'm sure that people have already, do not reach out to this person, obviously, but it's a funny situation, I think.
Okay. I don't know what to make of it. I find it rather shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, we know you write a paper in grade school and you copy from the encyclopedia. The teacher just immediately is like, hey, I just went to the same library you have access to.
Right.
And I found the same thing. You can't do that. We all know you can't just do that.
But it's also, you go to the encyclopedia, you go to Wikipedia, you do the rewording.
Yeah, you just
put it in your own words.
Flip the sentence around.
She didn't even bother.
No, that's what I mean.
There's eggnog in his beard. There's evil-looking knives. That was from this how-to book, the evil-looking knife from later on.
Wow.
I did think that there was a chance that this might be the origin of all the confusion about the ants and stuff like that, but that's purely her invention.
So what she brought to it was the most confusing sentence in all of 372 pages history.
That's her touch, yeah. That's her little. But it does explain things like we were puzzled as to why these Texans would be drinking eggnog on a 75-year-old day. It's because T. Lockhart told her to. And there wasn't a way to switch that up to a more regionally appropriate seasonal beverage.
She didn't seem to sort of feather the edges of where she wrote and where he wrote. She just sort of I'll just chunk it in there and then we'll explain that it's too warm to drink eggnog right now. But, so there wasn't a lot of fine sanding is what I'm saying between the joints of the material.
And once you realize that this has happened, all the other stuff that she sort of did add in does seem a lot more clumsy. Like, for example, I very much skimmed this book, but he was like, you should give your character, an occupation. And this is a way to, introduce more details, but it also will give them special talents they can use. I don't remember. I mean, Cinnamon was a baker, so she was entering the gingerbread contest, etc. She does operate a bakery in this book. Remember, it's crust and jam. Sure. But once you realize that all that is there just because this guy told her to, it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't really have any impact on this book. She's never seen operating it or setting foot into it. No customers appear. She doesn't interact with them. It's just something that she does entirely off camera.
She does, and she has to stay in that particular room so she can get up early to head off to crust and jam.
Exactly.
Which doesn't then factor in the least.
Yeah, I believe it's mentioned twice, and one of them is in this section. So
yes.
So yes, if you were up on that from the podcast Discord, I'm sure this does not come as news to you, but it's I think that this buying the book went to see how deep it got. It does cover the entire climax of the book. I'll specify the things as we get to them because I don't want to ruin some of the surprises because there's some funny surprises. But it's probably a stunning revelation for everybody else, and I don't know what else to say about it. It's impressive.
Oh, Sussy is all I have to say. I am disappointed in you. I expected more from you.
Yeah. Well, we can get into it then, I guess. It's up to you if you want to read this. It doesn't seem like the guy has provided it's a thick book. It's sort of written in that Dwight David Thrash big thing and has a large font, but it's got, it's got exercises and stuff. So if you were deciding to do this, it might be the book to pick up.
So as we go forward, we're just attributing all of this to three people then. Sussy, and isn't there two authors on that book?
There was on Amazon. I think him and this is a pen name. I think they do write, their own mysteries.
Oh, but that one's just a single name?
It says T. Lockhart.
Okay,
Lockhaven. So.
Okay, T. Lockhaven.
And yeah, I'll try to chime in with where things came from because,
Okay.
all the characters, a lot of the characters that are Texans came from here, but everything that's involved in the actual plot is directly from this book.
Okay. Well, there we go. We pick up at chapter 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which starts with, we'll delve back into this, but it starts with the sentence, back to square one, Uncle Kid, the ants, Marisol, Simon, and I were all sitting in our kitchen eating biscuits and jam and drinking our morning coffee. So the ants, as we discussed, includes her mother. And we ran a Patreon poll about this, which generated a lot of discussion. I think 33, it was like 1/3 people said, yeah, that's her mom. The other 2/3 said, no, it's not. But Jason, it's also addressed at the end of the book.
Oh, it is, yes. It is solved, right? Yes.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think.
Okay.
I think that it's obviously her mom. Otherwise, it's even weirder. It is not obvious from the writing that that's the case. It's
right.
Grammatically miserable, and it's not clear even when she tries to address it at the end of the book. However, Jason, a listener, wrote in and said on Sussy's Facebook page, she describes her new book thusly: currently, and tell me if there's a better way to describe this. Currently, 2 great-granddaughters have quit their career as a chef and a magazine journalist in Austin to come back to their grandfather's farm to help their mother and their uncle, but also to create the place of their dreams.
Wow.
Two great-granddaughters. I don't believe the grandfather is still alive. I guess he died. But who is the great-grandfather that's mentioned here? The guy that built the hacienda?
I guess so.
I guess if you're someone's great-grandchildren.
If your great-grandchildren, your relation to the other great-grandchild could be quite distant, right?
True, yes.
So there's got to be a relationship that's closer to that. It's like instead of just using a number, saying, 2 + 2 + 8 + 6 + 7, that's a number.
It's 24, come on. So that's a fascinating way to describe this, but in theory, it does solve the mystery, even though it's like in, like deep Star Wars lore that you have to look in one of the novels or something to find out who Chewbacca's great-grandfather is.
Oh, who was Itchy?
Well, Itchy, yeah, that was, yeah. I guess we do know that. But his great-grandfather, we don't know. That could be Scratchy or, Fatty, I don't know.
So they wipe the first 7 chapters out because they've failed. Santa was killed at their hacienda. Plot is not.
Yeah. If you're joining us for the first time, this is quite the one to jump in on.
And the Crust and Jam owner and owner of the hacienda is on the case because the indifferent sheriff, who frustrates the hell out of her with his indifference, but oh my gosh, that delicious smile, which we gave you a little sample of last week, and
we did, and then
everyone agreed that it was very delicious. Thank you, Connor. But then she says, "Okay, so we've updated our her whiteboard. That leaves us with the developer, Paul. So the developer." Paul Turner.
So there you go. Oh.
And Pastor Reed and Laureen Reynolds. Or possibly we're overlooking someone else.
You don't say.
Seems like a real tight affair you got going with this whiteboard. You're already acknowledging. Or it could have been someone else who murdered him. I don't know.
Look, T. Lockhaven said they had to have a whiteboard. So even though it only has 3 people on it, you need a whiteboard. That's how these work.
Oh, yeah, she's not exactly Sherlock here. We are on the hunt. She strides over her own couch. Let's go.
If she did start smoking a pipe, T. Lockhaven was like, yeah, in the second act, have him start smoking a pipe. That'll confound your reader. And but then she refers to Aunt Lucy again. Aunt Lucy looked like the cat who caught the canary. Like, oh, Mom. She said she and Aunt Lindy had been asking around town, and they found out that information about Paul Turner, that he was harassing the council to try to get this development passed. And they revealed this. I thought this was interesting. They said, what do we really know about... what do we
really know about Paul Turner?
Asked Uncle Kid. And they say, not much. He doesn't live here. but he has plans to build on the property just past Sunflower Farms that sit on the bluff overlooking Lake Travis. So I don't know where he lives. I guess, he's one of those. He was at the Christmas party, so he probably has some place in town that he stays.
Yeah, I don't know. But, so she... Yeah, I didn't realize that Paul Turner didn't live in town.
He brings the photomat there, but he doesn't want to live there.
Oh, he's one of the fancy out-of-towners, huh?
How could you run a town if you don't live there?
So they consider, so now we need to go out. Simon's not a risk taker.
I like that.
The professor.
He always plays by the rules.
Again, he's just sitting there like, what? Even Simon dressed up. Why do you even have me in this book?
Look, you told me to dress up for the party, and I always play by the rules. I had to dress up.
Right. So he says, go ahead, but do you think it'd be safe to break and enter? Well, I don't feel Ed will mind, especially if we find a clue about his death. Just to be on the safe side, I'll wear some gloves so no one will know I've been there. Uncle Kid backed me up and said, I'll go with you for a little support. And he chuckled. This could be fun. For some reason, Uncle Kid suddenly getting excited about this. Like, we're running a hacienda. Does anyone need to stay back and do anything? Like, right. I don't know. Let's just go have some fun. What the hell?
This $1 million renovation could wait a couple more days.
That's right.
Is he doing the run his hand through his greasy hair?
Yeah, he's putting a rubber band in his. This could be fun.
And as they're going. I also like that she says, "I don't feel like Ed will mind."
Yeah,
the dead man.
Yes,
he's probably not taking a lot of offense to things going on these days. But then Marisol says while they're doing that, she plans to do some research into Paul Turner, which I just presumed involved, calling his bank up and asking politely for his social security number.
But it's even better. She does it on the internet. But
yes,
we'll get to that.
She's a former reporter.
That's true. This is just a pet peeve. But as long as, look, she read the book, so she should know better. And I'm assuming the writer does not recommend this. They go up to Ed's house, and here's the sentence. We parked at the end of the alley behind Ed's home and walked down the alley and crossed his backyard to his back door.
Yeah.
As a writer, like musically, in your ear, you can't hear alley and back like that many times in a row. Stop it.
That's a very good point. It's extremely clumsy. Even when you sometimes have to have the same word back to back because that's what you're saying. I don't have an example,
yes.
but it does. It immediately sets your hackles up, and words should be flagging that for these people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a great Uncle Kidism as they're about to break and enter. Uncle Kid says,
"Calm down. You're as jumpy as spit on a hot skillet." That's a saying, Uncle Kid. You're just free balling now. You're not.
Go get a new skillet once you've tested that. And then yeah.
Who's spitting on it? Why? Anyway.
But we learn he's a pocket knife guy. So he takes out his pocket knife, which I assume he refers to as like a blade. Yes. I've always got my blade.
You always got to have a blade with you.
And then he does the credit card Jimmy, the detective credit card Jimmy, into the door.
The back door was locked, but Uncle Kid took out his pocket knife and used it to slip the space between the door and the frame within just a few moments of the knife. He had the door open, and I just thought, well, Judge Ed obviously never sent anyone to the big house or anything, did he? He was not concerned at all about security. Just had the whatever you got laying around in the hardware store. You are a judge. You're sending people to the penitentiary. That seems to be a thing that people hold grudges against. I'm not worried about it.
You got easy alley access to your house. That tends to be where criminals enter from.
Felons, they don't really care about the law. I don't. Look, just whatever. Just the standard brass, whatever aluminum thing. Just put it on there.
Retribution ain't a problem if you just send him to the chair. That's what Judge Ed always said. Jaywalking chair. Petty shoplifting chair. That way you don't have to upgrade your lock. It's a roundabout solution. But I thought this was confusing too. We put the gloves on that I had brought from my bakery, crust and jam. Might be the last mention of it. I told Murphy to sit by the back door. She's also brought her dog along with them because he's a good lookout. Ed had left the central heat on when he left for the party. It was specified that it was 75 degrees, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just making sure. And now the house was toasty.
Also, again, nitpicking on the writing. Ed had left the central heat on when he left for the party, and now the house was toasty. Are those separate things? Like, how long does it... This is the next day, right?
Yes. I mean...
It just bugs me. The word "and" is just not what she meant there.
And then she gets I think some of this was from real or fanfic, but she listens to his answering machine. The first one is about to, he's playing Santa somewhere else, so he's playing Santa all around town. And then the second message was from someone angry. Ed, this isn't over. I'm going to destroy you. I looked at Uncle Kid. The caller didn't need to leave his name. We both do that angry voice. It was Paul Turner. And
it was either Paul Turner or it was the developer. Oh, wait, they're the same guy. I keep forgetting. That comma confuses me every time.
And this message must have been long distance since he doesn't live here. So that's
right.
Amazing. A costly threat he made here. And then the dog starts growling because someone's coming up to the front door. Murphy's low growling alerted to us someone coming in the front door. Very dramatic. How are they going to escape? So he tiptoed out. As we closed the door behind us, we heard voices at the front door of someone unlocking it. And so they easily escape, whoever this might be.
We did a variety of 80s dance moves and we left. What more do you need? But Uncle Kid says this, very disappointed. Uncle Kid listened and said, just say that you've heard rumors, plus give him the information that Marisol found. That should be enough for him to start investigating Paul Turner. Where's the folksiness?
Yeah.
Uncle Kid, what the hell? That was just like a solid statement of fact. Why is it like, hell, even a raccoon who slipped his head into a dog hole knows that, you got to, come on, sussy.
Rumors around town like a whistle stop that ain't got the cap on it.
Yeah, like crap through a tin horn. This thing's turning, you got to have something. But he just gives information, flat information.
And what he says, the information Marisol found is that Paul Turner, as the developer, is super leveraged to the hilt. His last project was a bust, so he really needs to land this new development in order to, not go bankrupt, I guess. So he's desperate to make it happen.
Yeah, she learned that on the internet, right?
Yes. Okay. She went to is Paul what is it, Paul
Turner developer.
Paul Turner leveraged to the hilt.com.
Yes.
And the answer is
but
yes.
it's very funny though that they've got him on, he's already on his answering machine going, I'm going to end you, old man. I'm going to push you into a bed frame so hard. And then she's like, I've just discovered he actually doesn't like the judge. We're ahead of you on that.
He's in a bit of financial trouble. Now we can really get the sheriff involved. Which she does go. She goes to talk to the hot sheriff who frustrates her so much. And he's, I guess, a little more willing to listen now. He says, I suppose that would be a motive for a murder. And then she mentions that, he's bankrupt. And then I liked the sentence, just real Texas lawman stuff. Said the sheriff, crossing his arms over of his chest. Is he capable of murder?
But his sheriffness was proved beyond a doubt because this is the middle of a murder investigation, right? It's hot. Yeah. You have to act quickly on these things, right? Or time slips away. So she says, Aunt Lucy and Aunt Lindy have heard rumors that Paul Turner, the developer, is in deep financial trouble. His response, who's Paul Turner? Just the prime suspect.
The richest man in town?
What have you been doing?
Yeah, I mean, in the book, in the T. Lockhaven book, he does talk about how the guy is sort of dismissive at first, probably because she's an amateur sleuth. But, you need to have some sort of motivation for why he might be dismissive. Hers is, T. Lockhaven told me to do it, so that's why it's so frustrating that he keeps being this dumbass who's checked out and playing with the Rubik's Cube or something while she's trying to talk to him. Who is that? Oh, sure. Oh, the developer. Yep, yeah. Hope he gets that approved.
Oh, the ham-fistedness of her being frustrated by him. He's so Oh, he just bugs me so much, but he's so delicious. Oh, I can't be saying this. It's so bad.
And it ends with some of that too, because he says like, "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. You have a real knack for sniffing out crime, don't I?" And she's sort of like, "I don't know about a knack, but I think that would try to look at all the possibilities before jumping to a conclusion." He laughed and didn't seem to take offense at my backhanded criticism. He even said, "When we get this all worked out, would you be interested in having coffee with me? Maybe." End of chapter.
When we get this all worked out.
Yeah, oh yeah, when we pin this on some schlub and a drifter, we send him to the chair as is my wont. That's let's have some coffee.
We're going to send this Pablo Thomason to the chair. Paul Turner. Who's that now? God.
I still have like a grief counselor at my property for anyone who is out there and who's them or their children witness this type of thing. I am not interested in dates at the moment.
Again, the cleanup crew isn't even there yet. The blood is still being tested.
Yeah, it is a biohazard. Yes. But yeah, so she does have a knack for ending chapters, I think, and that brings us to chapter 9. Oh, she does. I'm sorry. She mentions the after getting all the preparation finished for the next morning's crowd at Crust and Jam. So there's a crowd. There's a crowd that travels to her bakery every day. It's just mentioned in very, very much ignored for the rest of the book.
Running a very recently revamped, right? Totally redone.
I assumed that it was, if
she talks later about guests. So
right.
This is an active working hacienda.
They're having a retreat, the scrapbooking retreat soon.
Okay, yeah.
But enough of that. We don't need to hear any details of the bakery. That's just a little color sprinkled in based on the advice from this book. But then in the middle of the night, she's awoken by a sound from outside, and then someone takes out one of the security cameras that I think Dale or someone had installed in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, Dale, I think.
She needed something for protection and remembered I had a baseball bat in my closet. That's just something you can remember, right?
That's what I have. She remembered? This is her primary means of defense in this hacienda, and she just remembered it? Oh, right.
And so she goes outside to investigate this, failing to alert anybody about this before. And then we get... a very uncharacteristic sentence for the rest of the book, but one I very much appreciated.
I think you're probably going to have the same as mine, but go ahead.
My heart squeezed in my chest, and I struggled to catch my breath. The chilly wind blew my robe back from my neck, chilling my breasts.
Yes.
What the hell is that doing in here?
Grandpa No should be followed by Settle Down Grandma, I guess.
Yeah, right. There we go. Settle Down Grandma.
Wow.
Yeah. Gonna need to know, a little more details. How old this person is. How, we haven't had any other physical descriptions ever before I can really appreciate this sentence.
Yes,
but...
we've had none whatsoever. Didn't Cinnamon was constantly talking about her looks?
I think so. Like, putting on makeup and, being, I think she was
had
being
other
a dork
people
as a kid. Like,
yeah, they had others going like, "Oh, stop it. You're so beautiful." That kind of stuff.
Yes. Yeah, she just couldn't realize it. And then the guy who returned to town finally did.
Yes.
But so we have chilled breasts in this one. That's our description of our hero.
And wow, the mystery really thickens here because Marisol and Simon rushed out. Even Simon rushed outside. That's pretty dangerous stuff for him. I'm sure he had on like those leather, mule slippers and like a full robe and like an ascot and everything.
The Scrooge cap. Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Carrying a candle.
I don't normally come outside, but I saw chilled breasts and immediately ran out. Under the crashed security camera lay a rock with a note under it that read, "Back off or you're next." My hands trembled as I explained what had happened. I explained. Someone threw a rock at the security camera. And you know as much as I do.
Yeah.
But that cracked me up.
Yeah. Good aim by the perpetrator. I thought she would have, woken up to hear the, multiple crashes. Like, son of a... God, I missed it again. Yes. Gotta find some more rocks rooting around in the garden. Oh, a snake. All right, got a rock. Ah, God damn it. I hit the window.
God, these rose thorns really are sharp. I'm bleeding. My blood's on the scene now.
But then, no, first one, he has also attached a note to the rock reading back up your necks, which could affect the aerodynamics of it. But also, Simon has explored more around as he did this, notices her car and someone has slashed all of her tires. So that's probably close to, $2,000 in damages here, a security camera, and
true.
Whole set of new tires. I presume she has a huge truck since she's in Texas.
Right. And she puts the spare tires in the back of her car, a la Roadhouse, because she knows that they're going to slash her tires. You bring up a point, though, that I didn't think about. The note on the rock, Encyclopedia Brown would have been all over that, like the arrow and was it a ring or something?
Yeah,
or was it was a huge
the arrow
diamond
attached to the thing, up the stairs, out the window, into a tree that nearly hit someone.
Yeah,
and that wasn't the crime.
Maybe those two corroborated. Look, if you're going to attach things to things that aren't aerodynamic, here's how you do it.
Oh man, if she had just taken the plagiarized part from Lockhaven, part from Sobel, that would have been the best thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think someone would have been trolling us on this thing. But we had a list of 12 books. You heard us in real time, and I wasn't even like this wasn't one of my top choices, and it happened to be the best possible choice we could have made. Speaking of arrows, she noticed a whooshing in the wind and noticed the blow-up snowman was heaving and rippling in the north wind. I would have bet $100 it was never mentioned again, so kudos to the author there.
Yeah, and she brings in the actual perpetrators, or at least mentioned again.
Yes.
I don't think anything comes of it, but they are at least mentioned.
Yes. They're not really caught and doesn't really affect anything, but it does come up.
But then they talk about going to the sheriff again, and she says, our narrator says, so far he had shown no belief that Ed's death was a murder. Now he clearly regarded this as a homicide. Yes, he did. Just back at the end of the last chapter,
yes.
Right?
He was starting to come around, yeah.
So
once he heard the death threat.
Yes. Shown no belief. He just showed belief. Sussy, pick Lockhart's book up again.
Yes, right. You skipped a page.
You skipped something.
Your copy and paste didn't work. But the sheriff does come up and he says, like, okay, you guys are serious. I realize I haven't been too attentive to your concerns. It's like, yeah, what the hell was wrong with you? You didn't even explain why. But then he says, do you know of anyone else that might want to harm you? Not really. Most of our suspect list is based on rumors. So I don't want to accuse anyone at this time. It's like, what? Come on. Rumors and hearsay are known for handing up in court. That's
all she ever says. She says, we heard rumors or there was gossip in town. And so therefore, I would be dismissive too.
Yes, exactly.
These people all hate each other.
Yeah, this could be a stop spreading this rumor about me. I'm the local pastor, like type of threat here. But then we had chilled breasts earlier. We get a much more baffling description here, at least as far as I'm concerned. Maybe this is what Gen Z is really into in looks for men, but I just I wasn't aware. I should have been working on this all this time. Because she describes the sheriff as the sheriff with his dashing smile and hot shoulders might come around after all if he just wasn't so irritating.
What?
Is that what people want from a man, Mike? Should I have been doing my shoulder broadening?
Your smile is delicious. I guess it could be a touch more dashing.
Thank you. I know, but my shoulders, I'm just like,
I don't. How does one hotify one's shoulders? Like,
yeah.
how do I up my shoulder game? I guess it's just free weights. I don't know. Kettlebells.
Yep. Doing a lot of them. And that's the end of that chapter. If he wasn't so irritating.
Yeah. Chapter 10.
Mm-hmm.
Brief. How is this even a chapter?
I think these were both 7,000 word sections here, so
okay.
you have to add your own in after you've copied and pasted from Lockhart. But
she says, I slept in this morning. There's these changes of like 10, I don't know, whatever. Feeling thankful that I was still alive after the party. What the crust and jam? Who's running it?
That's a good point.
You slept in this morning?
Yeah, and how close are we to Christmas?
It's a couple days. It says it later.
Okay.
But what? Yeah. Christmas is your busiest time, right?
Yeah.
You've got to murder it on Christmas.
The bedroom you're sleeping in the location is picked because of this bakery. One of the most notorious jobs you have to be up early for.
Slept in. It's like, have you ever gone to a 24-hour gas station and then you just go in and get something and it's just locked?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no one there. And you just know that, like, Well, someone slept in at the Crust and Jam this morning.
Yeah. I had to drive all the way out to the Hacienda for this. There's like, a Dunkin' Donuts in town, and I make the effort to support the local business. But no more, lady.
Yes.
$8 scones will not happen anymore.
But
maybe Uncle Kid covers for her.
That's all right. I got it. I sometimes like to spit in the croissant dough, but no big deal.
But go back to the suspect list, which, there are 3, and 2 of them haven't been mentioned in a while. The second ones are obviously Pastor Reed and Lorraine Reynolds, who both seem to be missing from the gathering room at the time of the murder. And she says, I suppose they both have a motive. Both would lose a lot if their secret became common knowledge. But is that enough for murder? And how would killing Judge Ed change anything about their situation? So those are the stakes.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is, true enough, I guess. We don't really know anything. The pastor's having an affair with a married woman.
As the rumor said.
But then it is true enough. How does that connect to Judge Ed? We don't. Well, we'll see when we get to the end.
Right, yeah. Tenuously turns out to be the answer.
Not much.
Yeah, because he's 82, so it's not, the possibility of a love triangle there would be very unlikely. You know what I mean? Like Lorraine Reynolds is not going to be, unless she's, Anna Nicole Smith is not going to be falling for this 82-year-old type of thing.
A Sheriff Grayson shows up.
Nice.
Right after we just saw him, right?
Yeah, he's been president every chapter so far.
His hot shoulder. We just left his hot shoulders.
Yeah, but now he looks sharp and gorgeous. Jeez,
yes,
I've got to stop thinking this way, she says, fanning herself.
He looked at me and smiled. Did he know what I was thinking? What does this guy look like? What is...
We know what he looks like. He looks like any given guy in a Hallmark movie.
Exactly.
Generically a soap opera handsome.
Yeah. The guys that are just... I feel sorry for Hallmark guys. Because the women are, they tend to be the focus of the stories. And the guys are just like, I drive a pickup truck and I stay in reasonable shape and I look okay in a t-shirt. Yep, that's all we need. That's fine.
I like that she says, did he know what I was thinking? Thinking like he's being like, wow, this chick's really into me. When he's probably being like, Pete Travis? Was that the name of the developer?
I got to get what... Sheriffs, do they carry I should get a notepad.
That's what I
write down things.
Notepad and a pen. Yeah. Is there a one of those like shops, a stationery shop that has like mercantile in its name on this hacienda, or like proper provisions where I can get an overpriced moleskin or something?
And then so they talk and they look at the whiteboard, and so they're really drilling down on this now. There's only 3 suspects. Possibly more that they could have missed. But then she presents this. Well, some of this is gossip, but the aunts have been told by several guests. So this is like hearsay on the, once removed.
Yeah.
I hear from my aunts that they heard, automatically dismissed.
Some of this is gossip, but, then you would say, but this is true. No, here's some very much gossip. Like several guests been spread to my notoriously chatty aunts. And I think that is, it says, Pastor Reed and Lorraine Reynolds has been spending a lot of time together and seems sort of cozy. That obviously stood out because, it's like, ooh, what have they've been licking yogurt, but not off the back of the spoon, if you know what I mean. That is word for word from the Hallmark book, that they seem kind of cozy.
Wow. Just go ahead and say it. Yep.
Yeah. And then it says, both aunts remember Lorraine leaving after we found Ed's body. And one guest told the aunts that Pastor Reed was heavy into the eggnog after they found Ed's body. This person also told the aunts that Pastor Reed was 7 years sober and in the same AA group with her. Verbatim from the book as well.
Oh, no.
That was an interesting detail. Like Pastor Reed's off the wagon. But, I think it's the character's name is Jane, and I think the pastor is Walter, or Pastor White, and Walter is Ed. But those are the only things that got changed from that.
But this is how you end a chapter, as brief as it is. No, I shook my head and shrugged my shoulders, evading a full answer. I'm on my way to visit Paul Turner. Is that his name? Paul. I'm on my way to visit Paul Turner. Would you like to come with me? Sure.
Dun, dun,
The
dun.
chapter just ends.
Sure, it'd be great if the next chapter started and it turned out that was Aunt Lindy who had said sure there. Like,
Yes.
she's just chiming in from the corner of the room. Hell yeah, shoulders, I'm with you.
Hot shoulders. Hot property.
The just below the AA group is this. You give her credit for this because she took this detail and put it out of sequence from where Lockhaven recommended it. But the double dipping into the eggnog and giving her a sickeningly sweet smile, which we replicated last time, that was also from this book here. Just
Nice.
not in the sequence that she
Not
put
in
it
the sequence. That's
Yes.
her spin. It's her little twist on it. Nice.
So chapter 11, they venture to Paul Turner's office. I assume that the sheriff got lost along the way or something like that.
Here comes one of the most puzzling things in the book. Help me out with this.
I don't know if I can.
Okay. I plan to return to the council and present my petition again. This is Paul Turner, I'm assuming.
The developer, yeah.
But I'm telling you the truth, I never would kill someone. Strangely, Darby believed him. What? However, the sheriff didn't. He asked another question, and then it goes on. What in the name of hell is this about?
It's so bizarre. She turns into Ricky Henderson for a minute. You know?
What?
Darby believes you, but Darby wants to know, where were you last night when Darby's house was broken into?
That is so puzzling.
Yeah.
I don't know what she starts the thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole book has been, for the most part, in first person. There was one second person, was there not?
There was you when you kill someone.
You want to chalk something like this up to the sloppy cop and paste job, but I don't know that it is, because it's not the same character name. So I don't know. I think we get one more of these later too. Another bizarre, Bo Jackson moment.
I was telling you, I think off screen that we're reading. We're listening to the full audiobook of the original Christmas Carol.
Okay.
And did a deep dive and watched the movie that was The Man Who Invented Christmas, which is highly fictionalized version of how it came about, but some of it's true. Anyway, Dickens uses second person sometimes as a joke because he has an audience and he's talking about what happens and he's using high florid language, and then he'll say stuff like, if you have a better way to say this, I'd love to hear it, but this is my best expression of how it could be. So he just breaks the fourth wall, talks to the audience for a second, and then he's back into it.
Nice.
So it does happen, but that's Charles Dickens. It's not Sussy Jordan. So
He's earned a bit of license there.
yes.
The famous line from the end, Tiny Tim, who did not die, like in all caps, is there.
Yes.
That people think that's weird when Gonzo says it in Muppet Christmas Carol, but it's like, no, that's actually in the text. He could do what he wanted.
Which, by the way, I found out that the editors begged him to leave Tiny Tim alive. He had killed him originally.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's a good what if moment.
Yeah.
Another good what if Scrooge had an erection the entire time. That's,
Yes. Well.
I'm surprised you aren't reading the audiobook of my version. That's I'm hurt.
All right, so Darby is there too, aside from our narrator, and
Yes.
I don't know what's happening.
But the sheriff does have the developer does have an alibi. He just says, I was at home with my wife. Why do you ask? Where's his home? He doesn't live here.
So he drove quite a ways.
And his wife didn't come to the party either? Maybe?
Yeah, he was at his home. And this, again, the prose is just killing me. I'm sorry. This is the sheriff, I think. The Sunflower Hacienda was attacked, and they left a threatening message for Darby. It was a lot like your threatening message to Judge Ed.
The Hacienda left a threatening message?
The Sunflower Hacienda was attacked, and they left a threatening message.
Assuming multiple perpetrators, then maybe not.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Well, by this point in time, she has a lot to answer for.
Yes.
If we have the book Hague, we'll be bringing her up on charges. But yeah, he has an alibi, and they pretty much accept it and say all right, they don't go and ask his wife or anything like that. He peels out of the thing. They watch him driving home on the phone to his wife, but they sort of just accept him at his word. Here's a good thing that complicates the matter even more. I didn't even notice the first time we read it. We left Turner's office and returned to the hacienda. Seeing my car with fresh tires in the front driveway thrilled me. Simon is the best brother-in-law anyone could ever have. And this I only noticed because Hayden wrote in about this. He says, to confuse the matter, we read in chapter 11 that Darby is talking about getting her tires replaced on her car. She says Simon is the best brother-in-law anyone could have. In chapter 2, we learn that Simon is the husband of Marisol. This implies that Marisol and Darby are sisters. In chapter 2, it is stated that Marisol's mother is Lindy. It is correct. I looked that up. And he says, again, this is not conclusive. It could be a general statement that Simon is the best brother-in-law in the world, not to Darby specifically, but to some person out there that might be his wife's sibling. If Darby and Marisol were sisters, Lindy would be her mom. But obviously, these are aunts and they're not sisters. So it's a very odd detail to put in there that he's just a generically good brother-in-law.
Well, that's, Occam's razor, this thing, and just she forgot who she was talking about. She doesn't mean he's the best brother-in-law to someone else.
I mean, Marisol was like a sister to me. One sentence like that, boom, you're done. I never had any siblings, but she was the closest you'd get.
But what you just read is followed by this, too. So they left the Turner's office. They drove to the hacienda. I don't know how far. They don't really say. Mm-hmm. But then they get out of the car, and she says, "Do you believe Turner?" I asked. And he's like, I wondered why we drove in silence when we had just interviewed him. It just seemed like a good time for you to have brought up.
Yeah, we didn't bring up validating his alibi.
You were just rifling through my my glove box and commenting on the fact that I had hand warmers in there from 2 Christmases ago.
Yeah, but you kept finding lint to pick off my shoulders somehow. I had my suit dry cleaned a week ago, so I don't really think there was that much on there. But
you were asking about vague stains on my seatbelt. What? I don't know. Lots of people have been in here. I don't know what that is.
Frankly, I'm suspicious of you now. Yeah.
Paul Turner never came up.
I'm pretty convinced you slashed your own tires. Yeah. Yep, that happens in movies all the time too. Just you get moments like that where it's well, if this is playing out the way you've done it here, they had a long period of silence not having this conversation.
Right. Or they get out of the car and say that, "Do you believe Paul Turner? Look, you asked me 70 times in the car. I gave you extensive answers on it." Oh, right. Sorry, right.
Oh. And then another bang-up chapter ending. I looked at Sheriff Grayson and said, "What do we do now?" He answered, "We keep investigating. Something will come up." End of chapter. Very short chapter. It all fit on one page.
He's a terrible sheriff. Doesn't remember who Paul Turner is. Says we just keep something will turn up. I don't know.
But when he shrugs, saying, "I don't know," those shoulders.
It's so hot.
They heave.
Hot. God, breasts are chilling as he speaks.
He doesn't. She doesn't know how to end chapters, but she certainly doesn't know how to start them. The next chapter begins. Marisol had made a chicken salad for sandwiches. Boom! I'm roped right back in, just like Uncle Kid roping a steer.
Just such an odd way of putting things, though. Had made chicken salad sandwiches. But no, had made a chicken salad for sandwiches.
You've got to assemble your own sandwiches. I don't only go so far. I filled in for you at the bakery when you slept in this morning. I'm not making all of your lunch.
Did you bring your own bread? No, I don't have any bread. I thought you were going to. I made chicken salad for sandwiches. I didn't say anything about it.
You run a bakery. Why do you not have bread? Well, I slept in this morning. Gosh. But then, so they go back to discussing Pastor Reed and Lorraine Reynolds because they keep saying, "Do you think Paul Turner was telling the truth?" And then the stakes are they would have, why would they do this? They would have a lot to lose if everyone found out about their affair. I think this has been, said before. He'd lose his ministry and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the affair at this point seems to be pretty public knowledge. Mm-hmm. You've heard about it from a lot of people, and you've also gone and told a lot of people about it in what I assume is, based on cozy law, a fairly small town.
Yes.
It's going to get out there. It's already out there.
It's rumor and gossip is everywhere. I like that Marisol says this. Marisol, her sister?
Yeah, cousin. Her cousin. Her mom's sister's daughter.
Says, "I suspect his financial problems are real," said Marisol. You looked him up on the internet. You're the only. We're taking this all from you. You're the one who said this.
Yeah. Did you read it on TexasFreedomReport.biz, or was it a real site that reported on his near bankruptcy and his leveraging to the hilt?
Was it one of those AI generated ones that does a list of their favorite, failed developers? Just pulled pictures from places.
5 epic reasons Paul Turner might be going bankrupt. The reporter. But then she does fill us in here on the timeline. It says, let's just keep pondering about it. I need to get the hacienda cleaned up after the party. It's 2 days till Christmas. I still need to purchase a few gifts. So just, the guy does give a lot of advice about like Christmassy stuff. You could just keep throwing in. He's like, you should be able to like smell the gingerbread in the air. There should be decorations, carols, that sort of thing. Or you could just have a character occasionally remind you that it's 2 days till Christmas.
Yes.
It really gets the spirit going. You could practically hear the Mariah Carey.
But they do right after you read that, she invites her into town to do the Christmas shopping, and the robot language comes on again. Oh. Do you want to run to town with me this afternoon to finish shopping? That sounds fun and a pleasant distraction. I am tired of meditating about murder and people who know who might be a killer. That sounds good to me as well and pleasant. Why? 1 minute is folksy, the next it's like tinny metallic robots. I don't understand it.
Aren't there books like, maybe The Wasteland where you're like, oh yeah, this is, T.S. Eliot, this is Ezra Pound here. Oh. You can maybe do that with, this was Sussy and this was T. Lockhaven.
You're right.
Yeah, so this is all Sussy when the characters start talking like that. When they drive into town, we get the part that we covered in Real or Fanfic where there's, let's just read it again. They burst out laughing and holding their sides and cackling, a very unladylike response, but they have seen Tommy Lampkin's red truck going down the street. The drivers have full 3D deer heads with antlers and brown T-shirts. They look like real deer driving the truck, but this detail was left out. On the front hood of the truck was a third young man dressed in camouflage with his feet tied and his hand tied. It was shocking, but then it was funny. These young men were mocking the hunters who drove through town with their deer tied to the front of their pickup truck. And then she describes it as, while we viewed the baffling antics, the high school English teacher, Kelly Peterson, joined us. She was laughing too.
Which then, so she just joins them. They're walking down the street, right? It's 3 of them, right? The kid, Marisol, and her.
Oh, yeah. The daughter, Carmen, I think, the 6-year-old.
So they see it. They start cackling. Then this English teacher walks up next to them and starts cackling with them, which I think is sort of odd, but like... Okay, you're joining us? Okay. Well, I guess these boys should get an A in English. Why? And then she's just joined them. A few days before school let out for the Christmas holidays, the senior English class was discussing irony in literature.
Okay, well,
I asked the class to describe a scenario where an event is an example of irony.
Yes, Carmen, we'll go right now.
Just hang on. I just got more of this. Most of the kids answered something like, let me give you an example. The fat man ate his ice cream while sitting on his exercise bike.
The 6-year-old doesn't know what irony is.
Stay here. Don't leave yet. I know you got a lot of shopping to do. But 3 of the senior boys laughed and described exactly this scene, the one that drove away about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, they have not been here for a while. I've stopped cackling.
What if the deer shot the hunter and drove through town displaying him on the front of their pickup? Like, is the story over now?
Yeah. Can we move on with our day? We've never spoken before.
I'm vaguely aware that you are Kelly Peterson, the English teacher.
But you weren't invited to my party. This is your first appearance.
And it's very strange that you walked up to us and began cackling with us. I don't know you.
I have a couple of questions about this. I mean, first of all, is obviously where you'd put that scenario. What if the deer shot the hunter and drove through town displaying them on the front of their pickup? Where is that on the irony Morissetto meter?
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Like a 5? I mean...
Isn't it ironic?
It's not like a coincidence, and it's not really ironic. It's sort of it's unsettling.
It's an inversion. Yeah, I don't know.
I think there's a Far Side cartoon of that as well.
Yes.
But this also, she asked for an example of irony. Most of the kids answered something like the fat man ate his ice cream or sitting on his exercise bike. That's a oddly specific thing for like most of the kids to to have come up with.
Not a one of them said there's a guy who was afraid to fly, and then he got older, and then he flew, and then the plane crashed down, and he said, well, isn't that nice? Isn't it ironic?
Oh, so they finally get away from this person. She actually keeps talking. She says they must have been bored since the high school football season is over. She never says anything like, hey, did they catch the guy who killed the guy at your house the other night? That's the only news about town.
Because I also noticed the Crust and Jam was closed for no reason. Like, there was customers waiting outside.
Yeah, I came.
They had ordered their Christmas, their Noel loaves, their logs, and they're just not showing up. So, do you, as the proprietor, do you know anything about this?
I drove up there for the first time since I wasn't invited to the Christmas party, and then the store was closed. You're on thin ice, lady.
I'm going to tell you another story about my class. I
God!
don't like that.
No. They do go shopping. They buy a doll for Carmen. It says we even splurged and purchased the Malibu house to go with the doll. And I assume that could be any, brand name of doll that has a Malibu dream house.
I really hoped that they bought like a really downstream version of it, like just someone called like Paula and then
Beach Betty. Yeah.
Yes. Carmen's like, yay, until her first friend sees her. What the hell is that?
Yeah, I think that the doll's hair is dog hair. That's really gross and unsettling.
Oh, poor Carmen.
And then they have this question. Marisol, do you think Carmen will have problems imagining Santa bringing her toys after she saw Ed dressed as Santa taken in the ambulance? And it's like, no, don't worry about that. We just told her it was one of Santa's helpers that was murdered gruesomely in our own home. She won't have any nightmares about that for the rest of her life.
She says she took them out of there quickly. That's like, I don't know. How long to imprint a murder scene on a child's eyes? Like,
Yeah. And would you maybe think to cover the body as you wheel him out? Like, she did see him just dressed as Santa, bleeding still, like on a gurney being loaded into the ambulance. Throw a tarp over him.
Oh, that's right. She did scream herself awake a few times during the night. I didn't think anything of it.
I thought it was just from the sounds of the home invasion that were happening and the violent crime being perpetrated outside.
The rocks and threats on rocks. Oh, well.
And then a great end to the chapter, as they have done repeatedly throughout this entire section. Thanks. I think I'll wrap Carmen's gifts, and then I might take a nap too. These have been a few stressful days. The aunts are coming over for dinner. Ophelia is making lasagna. So, I'll see you later. End of chapter.
Question: the aunts don't live at the hacienda? I thought they all moved back to the hacienda.
I mean, it's a sprawling property, I'm guessing, so there could be...
coming over. Okay, from like an outbuilding.
Yeah.
The ants live in a tool shed out by
Yeah, but there's a vortex there. That's where they bless their crystals. Yeah, bizarre. You don't have the unforced errors on those type of things.
Sure. Okay. All right, so she took a nap. So chapter 13, for writers out there, again, this is how you connect. This is the cement that holds your story together. She says, I'm taking a nap. I'm tired. The ants are coming over for lasagna. When I woke up, I could sense the aroma of lasagna. Probably by smelling it, I would get that sense is probably the one.
Yeah, if you're gonna pick, that's
from her bed. She probably couldn't see it. She probably didn't feel the heat from it.
Yeah, I put my foot in a big lasagna when I stepped out of bed. Yeah, maybe all those crystals are paying off though. If she's sensing these things amongst the property,
I sense lasagna.
But then she goes on to describe what that would be like. It smelled like basil, garlic, and everything Italian. She thought of 2 ingredients and punted. She went variety of 80s dance moves on lasagna ingredients.
It's not that hard to describe lasagna, is it? I don't know. But coziness, aroma wafted, teasing my senses.
Mm-hmm.
The Ophelia putting a large dish of lasagna. The kitchen was warm and cozy. Everyone was there, ready to eat.
The aunts had turned on Italian music, giving the meal a festive air. They had poured
That's got to be from the book, right?
Oh, I don't think so, because the book doesn't have ants, and I don't think they're Italian. So this is little bit of flavor, but I didn't know they were Italian either until this point.
And then, so active murder investigation. Paul Turner's out there, presumably killing more people standing in the way of his development deal. And this is the third paragraph of this chapter. As I ate my first bite, the multiple flavors. Well, let's count them off. What do we have? Basil, and garlic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the rest.
Unfolded like a symphony playing in my mouth.
Good Lord.
The rich and savory meat sauce, the burst of tomato goodness, and the cheesy, creamy delight all came together in perfect harmony.
Wow. I mean, I want lasagna now, so mission accomplished.
Yeah, wow.
What am I doing baking pies? I should be serving up this lasagna out of my shop. Man,
yeah.
It's going to subsidize the rest of this hacienda.
And she says this, which patently untrue at this point. I may be the queen of baking and the fire pit, which is a new piece of information.
Yeah.
You're not the queen of baking. You've abdicated that.
You haven't baked once in this book.
You stepped off your throne a while ago. You were not the queen of baking.
Just say things like this. Everyone loves my baking. I never do it, and you never see that. And the fire pit where they had the Yule log, I don't really understand how those two are related.
But thank God he's back. I had a note. I'm like, Uncle Kid, please come back. And then he really delivers.
Yes, he does.
Uncle Kid comes back. The conversation was lively. Uncle Kid announced, some exciting information you might want to know. We have a new calf. One cow delivered a healthy brown and white calf this morning, and this new little fella's doing well. Already sucking from his mama. He's back.
And that meat sauce and that lasagna, that's his daddy.
You call it a symphony in your mouth. I call it a jug band in my mouth because that's what I prefer.
Yeah. Getting down, doing some hooting and hollering. But it's literally Sam Elliott talking about beef, which is what's for dinner. It's pretty impressive. True. It's a nice bow on the whole character.
It is.
What else do we have? Oh, so then that's where they have this weird reveal where they said that Uncle Kid says, I think those guys that you saw riding around with the deer heads, and the kid strapped to the roof, which, by the way, if there's even like a fender bender, that guy's going to probably suffer some severe injuries. So, reconsider, boys. But he says, I think those guys are probably the ones a few days ago that shot the snowman with the bow and arrow. And he says, like, oh, yeah, I saw tail lights on a red pickup racing out of the driveway. That would have been good information to have. I guess there's probably a lot of red pickups in town, but, for the vandalism, Uncle Kid could go take it on him or something.
Why was that never mentioned when we're talking about boo-boos and boom pop silence and all of that?
Right.
Hey, who did this? Any idea? Should we be talking about it? Yeah, I saw them screaming down the road just now.
Yeah, it's $1,000 thing they vandalized for the centerpiece of our holiday decorations here at the hacienda.
Mm-hmm. But no, that gets dismissed, and then she says, I laid back on a patio recliner, stretching my legs out and relaxed. I remembered the sunsets from when I was little and visited Granddaddy and Grandma here at the hacienda. Was this before her father was killed in the unnamed accident?
Before both of them, yeah. And where's Great-Grandpa in this whole scenario? It's Erasure. He's the primary driver of this action. They're his great-granddaughters.
She's just forgetting who people are and where
who's
they were.
died, that she had a father.
Yeah.
And then, she says, every sunset is different. Some have streaks of orange and yellow, while others have dark blue with patches of red and pink. God's palette for sunset changes every day, but never gets old. All right. Like, this chapter's getting relatively colorful.
Yes.
It's symphonies in mouths and sunset hues.
3 paragraphs. Yeah, count them 3 on the lasagna. Out of nowhere.
She goes to bed. Well, she showers, and then when she gets out, she gets a message from Lorraine Reynolds, which says, I need to talk to you immediately. I don't feel safe, and there's something urgent I need to tell you before it's too late. And she sends her text messages to that same effect, and she texts her and says to come over. And then she puts on a pot of tea.
This is when I confess to a laugh out loud at this paragraph.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I read it?
Please, go ahead.
10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. I hurried out of the kitchen and peeked out at her through the front window. I saw her car and Lorraine in her fur coat and her wool hat on top of all her red hair. I unlocked the front door and opened it slowly. Only it was not Lorraine. It was Pastor Reed wearing Lorraine's fur coat with a red wig. He shoved the door open and slammed me against the wall. He wickedly smiled and brandished an evil-looking knife.
Oh.
The pastor putting on a red wig.
Yeah. So, she drew attention to her fur coat, which is in Lockhaven's book. The red wig, red hair, I think is an innovation, but I don't know if it's specified that Lorraine wears the red wig or Pastor Reed had to go out and found one that matched this to pull off this scheme here.
I assumed that he had to go wig shopping. So that meant you probably got to go to the next town, right? Pastor, can I help you?
It's for the Christmas pageant. The wise man who brings myrrh is wearing it this year.
Right.
Is there a cozy mystery set in this town's wig shop, where this is, the mystery is being solved from a competing perspective?
Oh, wig mongers. They're cozy, yes.
Does this happen in a movie like Wait Until Dark or something? I feel like that's something, the guy dresses the woman and leaps out at her or something.
Yes.
It's a trope, but it's also word for word.
Oh, no.
She sees Jillian's car, and Jillian in her fur jacket, a wool hat, and boots. Jane unlocks the door and opens it slowly, only it's not Jillian. It's Pastor White wearing a fur coat and wig. He shoves the door open and slams Jane against the wall. He smiles and brandishes and evil-looking knife. Is that in here, or did she fix the?
No, she did. She fixed that. That was her innovation.
Good. Yeah, she corrected one typo.
Wow.
The other thing I forgot to mention is that the caterer who has a history of theft, that was all in here too.
Right.
That's sort of his Act 1 misdirect or something like
Sure.
that. Is he suggests doing that. So I don't think getting his social security number was there. That was an innovation on her part, which, tip of the hat. But so just to make sure everyone knows how deep it went.
Yes, I stole everything, but I wouldn't be capable of murder. Okay. Eliminated as a suspect. That's a great innovation. So now they try to figure out where's Lorraine, right? Because she's got her coat. And so Marisol said, do you think maybe he would have taken Lorraine to his home? The sheriff says,
wait. You're not going straight to him being out cold.
Huh?
You're going straight to him being out cold and the sheriff arriving? You're missing him kicking her in the groin. And she throws a pot of boiling water at him.
Sure.
and then this was a good thing. He howled in pain and dropped to the floor. One more bonk to the head with the pot. Do you recall the first bonk to the head with the pot? No, she had not. She had kicked him in the groin, and the one more bonk to the head in the pot is because T. Lockhaven suggested hitting him with the pot in the first place, and then adding in one more bonk to finish him off. So that's that's just how she subdues the guy with the evil looking knife. It happens remarkably easily and quickly.
And Marisol hugged me. He was out cold. Simon and Marisol, even Simon rushed into the kitchen.
Yeah, is it really rushing if she's been able to do all this to him at this point in time either?
Marisol hugged me tight, called the sheriff, and then the sheriff's there.
Yes.
It's only a short distance between the hacienda and the sheriff.
Yeah, almost as short as Aunt Lindy and Aunt Lucy's house.
Simon calls the burn ward. Thanks, Simon. He really is a great brother-in-law. To take care of Pastor Reed's burns. And then she solves the mystery, and that's it.
The sheriff said, so we solved the mystery. Whoa. Settle the hell down, hot shoulders. We is doing a lot of work here.
So more mention of the burns. But yes, then he says, hey, should we check where's Lorraine?
Oh, right. She did call me in a panic.
Do you think he could have taken Lorraine to his home? Probably not. His wife wouldn't understand, but maybe he left her at her house. Sheriff, could you send someone to Lorraine's home to check on her? I don't know. Is it worth a phone call, maybe? We are actively looking for a person who might be murdered, might be tied up, might be, can we just cover the bases? Nah, he wouldn't do that. Don't bother with it.
Yeah, and probably not, because his wife wouldn't understand. The guy, we're pretty sure he killed someone and he just attacked you with an evil-looking knife. There's probably a lot that his wife wouldn't understand about what's going on now. So let's just, maybe she should be filled in about what's going on, even if Lorraine is not at the house.
Like his wife is like, Pastor, you've got a lot of explaining to do with this woman here.
Yeah, the rolling pin waiting for him on the doorstep.
I mean, I know about your murder, and I let that one slide, but this is too much.
It would have been great if it was, do you think he would have taken Lorraine to his home? Yeah, maybe. His wife's pretty cool with this kind of thing. Like him dropping off a bound and gagged woman in a fur coat, or borrowing her fur coat and putting on a wig. She probably helped him affix the wig so it wouldn't come off during his tussle with you.
Wow, what a mystery, huh?
Yeah, the guy that we pinpointed in the very beginning as probably having done it turned out to have done it. But I wouldn't have predicted him wearing the woman's wig and thing to get into the house, especially considering he already came here and threw rocks at the thing. Was he wearing the wig and fur coat when he did that? You can't rule it out.
Here's the, so where do they find Lorraine?
Bound and gagged
in the car.
trunk of her car.
Okay, so she explains the murder. That's it. She finally explains what happened. And
Yeah.
this is good. I'm sorry. It's a paragraph. I'm going to read
Go
it.
ahead.
Lorraine said Pastor Reed had a heated argument with Judge Ed, who was criticizing him for having had an affair with a married woman when he was already married. Pastor Reed got angry and shoved Judge Ed, who fell backwards and hit his head. The judge died instantly. The pastor panicked and decided to arrange the boots to look like Ed was trying to pull them on. Then he fled the room. He tried to walk around the party drinking eggnog, looking innocent and normal, but he was too upset. So he grabbed me and we left the party. Pastor Reed told me not to worry. It would all blow over.
That's a true mastermind.
That was a great end to like just this like horrendous like what? He's died instantly. Oh my God. Put his boots on the wrong way. Don't worry about it. It'll all blow over.
Yeah, yelling at each other like in Witness. Like, Lorraine, just move the boots! Move the boots, Lorraine! You gotta put the boots on, Lorraine! You gotta put the boots on! I gotta go buy a wig!
Oh, so unfortunately, it didn't blow over.
Yes, he was caught and he really doubled down. I hope his wife is understanding of this, even if she wasn't understanding of him not bringing Lorraine to their house.
Mm-hmm. I also noticed that people, you get her out of the back of the trunk, you get the blanket around her. I assume you get her a cup of hot cocoa and some warm slippers. And then so tell us what you know. And then she goes into 5 paragraphs. You're just like, I just mean what happened? I don't know. Is there a shorter version of this?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, those roots of yours, no wonder you wear the wig. That is unfortunate, Lorraine. But she also offers this defense as her lips and chins trembled as she continued her story. Obviously, Pastor Reed terrified her. Tonight, he told me he would kill me if I ever told anyone. He probably planned to kill me, too, after he killed Darby. He was not a bad person. He just got in over his head. An accident happens. Most good people would probably not immediately try to frame somebody and have someone in the trunk and be knocking out security cameras and slashing tires.
Plus, they don't give the ages, but both Lorraine and the pastor are married, right?
Yeah, I guess so. They're both having affairs, I think.
The children, once she pulls her from the trunk, hey, would you mind just giving a ring to I have 5 children.
Right, yes. Lorraine, Lorena, Laurinette, they all wear fur coats. Well, this is a curious unforced area here as this is happening. Sheriff Grayson put handcuffs on Ed, attached to the gurney, and read him his rights. He said, "You are under arrest for the murder of Judge Ed Simpson." So he's put handcuffs on Ed, and then read Ed his rights, which is putting him under arrest for the murder of Judge Ed Simpson. So just there's only there was a lot of characters. Only a few of them actually had anything to do with the plot. It's probably a bad move to mix up the guy who got murdered with the guy who murdered him at the climax of the book.
That's unfortunate. And the attempted murder of Darby Grimes, who sometimes narrates and sometimes pulls herself out of the story completely.
Yes, and maybe the daughter of her own aunt. Sheriff Grayson turned to me and smiled and winked. I guess we did pretty good at catching the killer. That man infuriates me. He would never have caught anyone without my insisting we keep investigating. But my gosh, his smile and wink. And then you can read the final sentence of this chapter.
I'm glad she didn't neglect this. Credit where credit is due. After the sheriff left, Uncle Kid looked at me and jokingly said, I think he's taking to you like a sticker bird to a bare foot. So, thank you, Uncle Kid. Fade out on him. Circle close on Uncle Kid. His mustache and a winking eye.
It's good to know that our favorite part of the book was entirely her invention. Probably someone from her life. So that's nice.
That's true.
And then chapter 14 is the final one. It's also a short one. It sort of wraps things up. Uncle Kid sat in a big chair in the gathering room near the Christmas tree with Carmen in his lap, reading, Not a creature was stirring all through the house. So I think Uncle Kid has put away the rest of the eggnog because he can't even get the opening lines of The Night Before Christmas correct there.
Right, yes. Where are my cheaters? What am I reading?
Yeah, who's stirring what now? I don't know. You're a good kid, Carmen.
I wondered, the big chair, that was the one that could fit 2 or 3 children on Santa's lap. You know what we're saying.
They're eating their favorite festive fare of tamales and pralines, drinking sangria, and then we get this very curious tense change once more. Christmas Eve was finally here, and everyone was gone except for our family. Darby looked around the room at all those she held dear.
What?
Third person yet again. And then here it is. Marisol, Simon, Uncle Kid, her mother, Lucy, and Aunt Lindy. So
Damn it.
It's all commas between those. Uncle Kid, comma, her mother, comma, Aunt Lucy. Her mother, comma, Lucy, comma, and Aunt Lindy. So she uses the Oxford comma there when it doesn't give us any help. She doesn't do it before.
No clarity.
Oh, man. And then this is how it ends. Also, her extended family of Mikel, Ophelia, Carmen, and Doug. Life is going to be different here at the Sunflower Hacienda from our life in Austin, but I don't think it will be boring. So third person and first person in there, but I was questioning this too because did it say after a husband's accident, the 2 aunts moved back from Austin to help at the hacienda?
Yeah, I think so.
And we also got this. After Mikel, Ophelia, and Carmen left, only Marisol, Simon, and I remained around the table. I asked, do you both think we did the right thing by leaving everything we had in Austin to move here? So everyone moved back after Austin. Maybe they moved after their grandfather died. The other moms moved back after the accident that claimed both of their husbands.
Is Sunflower, is that a fictional town?
I believe it is because we got an email about this.
Okay, because I think I looked her up, and I think she lived in a suburb of Austin called Dripping Springs, which is where my mother lived for a short time.
Whoa,
yeah.
Well, that's
so
brother.
The circle closes here.
Yeah, really.
Crazy.
Jeez. Well, that's how the book ends, but I mean, we have an email about that, so we can get right into those.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
We're going to the party. We're going to the game. We're going to the disco. We're going to cruise out, man.
All right. I'm just before we get to the emails, I'm just scrolling down because there are recipes in this book. If anyone makes any of Darby's recipes, let us know how they are and let us know, which site they originally came from. It does say this is a new series. The first book in the series, the next Sunflower Farms murder mystery, which I'm writing right now, centers around a new business venture of Darby and Marisol. They are planning their first event, a scrapbooking retreat. This is an event activity I've enjoyed since in high school. So the other characters at Sunflower Farms are busy with their own shops. The ditzy aunts always have some excitement happening at their shop, while Simon is hardworking in getting the gardens and fruit trees producing food for the fresh market. In this book, we'll learn a lot more about Darby's profession as a baker, but also about her skills as a trailblazing woman pitmaster. So she's a barbecue.
Oh, that was the one.
That
she
was
said.
the fire pit. Yeah.
Fire pit. Huh.
That's the only mention of it in the book, though. I plan for this book to be released in mid-January 2024. So we have got a lot to look forward to, right on the heels of these stunning revelations.
Did you read about what kind of icing she makes?
She makes...
our family spends one day baking sugar cookies and decorating them. We share them. We make every color of icing in the rainbow, We use the Wilton gel icing color because it creates colors that are vivid.
Wow.
That is
Specific.
drilling down on it.
Yeah, that's the type of detail that was completely lacking from the book we just read.
Exactly.
Oh.
Wow.
Anyway, we have emails from people. Brother, where is this first one I mentioned? Oh, yes. This is from Jay. The geography of this book makes as much sense as Minneapolis in Ready Player 2. You'd be forgiven if you assume from the prose that Sunflower, Texas must be somewhere hundreds of miles from civilization, what with the agonizing decisions about whether or not they leave to go seek fortune in the big city of Austin. They mention a couple times that the hacienda overlooks Lake Travis. It may come as a bit of a surprise then when I tell you that Lake Travis is basically in the Austin suburbs. The references to the county judge and county sheriff sound very small town rural America, but almost all of Lake Travis is within Travis County, which is where Austin is. The Travis County sheriff is not some aw-shucks Texas lawman like Joe Don Baker in Final Justice. It's an elected position where the current sheriff got 400,000 votes in 2020. And blessed be thy Donald Sobel, the sheriff is a woman? So that's, there you go. If this is correct, then deciding to move there from Austin, they probably could have kept both places and, traveled there in 20 minutes or so.
Right. And then the ants are coming over tonight. So, okay.
We got this email from Drew. Based on our last discussion, the recent slander of aged eggnog shall not stand. It's absolutely delicious and would probably function as some sort of doomsday prepper survival food as it's chock full of calories, and the liquor helps pass the time while you wait for radiation levels to fall. My wife and I used to make a big batch of it around Halloween, so by the time Christmas rolls around, it would have a couple months to age on it. It definitely... he said meows out the heat, mellows, I'm guessing, out the heat for the alcohol, and sometimes thins out the texture. We had found that maybe 2 years of aging produced the best result. Anything that passed that didn't seem to change it noticeably, but didn't seem to go bad either. It didn't seem to go bad, Drew. Among the many things COVID screwed up is this tradition, and we haven't gotten back around to it. However, there is a single bottle of homemade eggnog in a refrigerator that is potentially 7 years old, but is 5 years at minimum. We had planned on cracking it open this Christmas, and if you would like, I would be delighted to send you and Mike, mail you and Mike a sample. Any takers on Drew's 7-year-old eggnog?
100%. Yes.
Wow!
Of course. Yes.
I guess I made Forrest Gump's disgusting Diet Coke, Dr. Pepper simulacrums, but
for sure. Yeah.
All right, maybe we'll look into this. You can taste it on air, perhaps.
Yes, I will.
Let's see. We got this. This was from Kate. She said, while I was reading the rest of the Killer Christmas Affair today, I noticed the two ants reminded me a lot of the two older sisters in the Quilters Push Back. You know, the ones who had the stun gun. I had forgotten that one of them was always packing a stun gun. Then I started noticing lots of other odd similarities between this book and the other two cozies we've read, and not just the tropes you'd expect, such as all the protagonists having pet sidekicks. It's also that every love interest is a lawman of one kind or another. Urban development is always bad. No freeways or condos, please. And even 2 out of the 3 books contain drug use if you count the hippie ants CBD gummies. So she has a little... chart of Quilters, Christmas River, and Sunflower Farms, and then has all the various things that they share between them, including old male relatives spouting folksy advice.
Wow.
And then the last email, I'll post that in the show description. The last email from Mark was a picture he took at appears some sort of mall. He said, sadly not a bookstore, and the store is called Just Cozy. And looks like it has a variety of leggings and sweaters and wraps and stuff like that in them. It does look quite cozy.
Large socks that when you put them up on a rest, they have something written on the bottom, a cozy thing like live, love, laugh or something.
I'd rather be watching Hallmark movies, yes.
Yes.
Let's wrap the whole thing up with this. We've had a lot of dumb ones. This first one's from Mike. God's palette for sunsets changes every day, but never gets old. And Mike added, things that change daily are usually the things that don't get old. It's when something doesn't change and still doesn't get old that you call that out. Valentari submitted, the back door was locked, but Uncle Kid took out his pocket knife and used it to slip into the space between the door and the frame. And they said, parsed exactly as written, I can only imagine Uncle Kid has no bones and forced himself into the space between the door and the frame like a cartoon character. Jessica submitted, I threw on some clothes and put a pot on the stove with boiling water to make tea for us. She said if it was already boiling, it wouldn't need to go onto the stove. Craig submitted. Oh, this is from the recipes that close out the book. From the best buttercream icing for sugar cookies that hardens. You really should only need 5 tablespoons of cream, so don't get carried away with too much cream. He said, do not incur Sussy's wrath by getting carried away and using more cream than that in making buttercream icing. John submitted, I don't feel Ed will mind, especially if we find a clue about his death. Mandy and Augusta both submitted this. This is from if you keep going in the book, descriptions of other books she's written. This is her Sussy's book, Secrets of the Carousel.
Yeah.
From the painted churches of the hill country, a home for trafficked and exploited girls, Native Americans, an abusive priest, a German beer hall, and a character with Alzheimer's disease and more, the book is chock full of the stuff that makes reading fun.
Wow.
And I think Mandy said, I'm trying to pick out which of these things is fun to read about.
Wow.
I mean, the beer hall could be fun. Presumably that's not where the trafficking and exploiting is happening.
Murder, scandal, intrigue, romance, DNA discoveries lead to more secrets.
Wow.
Cozy.
We might have to,
Secrets
go
of
back to back with Sussy books.
Where'd she take this one from, though?
Oh, I don't know.
Are these cozy? What are these?
That's a good question. I mean,
the Gristmill series. I mean, it sounds cozy AF.
Yeah, her socks when she puts them up say grist and mill on the separate feet. Janelle submitted, already sucking from his mama.
Yeah.
Jay and Alejandro submitted, when I woke up, I could sense the aroma of lasagna. Alejandro said, this sounds like a bad superpower. Justin submitted, said the sheriff, crossing his arms over his chest. Jim submitted, strangely, Darby believed him. He said it's either Darby started to refer to herself in the third person out of nowhere, or Murphy was with them and momentarily took over my narration, my personal favorite theory. And Hayden told him, I soothingly told him, you're acting crazy. And he said, is it possible to tell a person they're acting crazy in a soothing way, even if they didn't just slam you into a wall while smiling wickedly and brandishing an evil-looking knife? He also submitted this one I thought was good, too. We put on the gloves that I had brought from my bakery, crust and jam. And he said, she's definitely walking around with oven mitts on her hands, right? The only one that I didn't have was I slept. I guess we talked about it. I slept in this morning, feeling thankful that I was still alive after the party, the murder, and now the attack on our home. I just, I didn't even focus on the sleep again, but just that is a good things to feel thankful about.
I'll just read it again because it's so good. Maybe the sheriff, with his dashing smile and hot shoulders, might come around after all if he just wasn't so irritating.
A lot going on. Yeah. Maybe it's like the old, baseball prank from the 80s, the hot foot. The other deputies are always pulling the hot shoulders, lighting matches and sticking it into his epaulette or something.
Snickering. I recall my dad once said that I think he got expelled from school for doing it by putting atomic balm in some guy's jockstrap.
Wow.
Which is like, that's super hot, like capsaicin cream, pepper cream. He put it in some guy's jockstrap, and then the kid,
that happened to the Washington Nationals, within the past 6 years.
Really? Okay.
To Steven Strasburg. Yeah, I guess it's
the prank is alive.
Clubhouse
right.
prank. He had to miss a start because of this prank, because it was so much pain caused to his
was
nether regions.
Expelled from school for it.
Oh,
hilarious!
It is. I mean, you should. The book you write one day will be quite the character study.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I think that wraps it up for 2023 here on the podcast.
Oh, cozy, man. We have cookies to bake. We've been trying to make popovers.
Oh, sure.
And failed literally 4 times.
Yep.
And so we've consulted every
this
expert.
Is real? This is true?
This is real.
Okay.
This is our cozy. I'm trying to be cozy here. And they failed, and they turn into they're just like buns.
Muffin bottoms. Yeah, right?
Yeah, and so it's very irritating. And we talked to an expert, and they're like, there's just something is deeply wrong with your setup because they're the easiest things in the world. So there's
Is it like
something...
a souffle, like a loud noise, causes them to collapse?
No, they don't. They just never quite rise. So I'm like, are we buying like our eggs 7 years old? Did we buy them 7? I don't know what's going on.
Haunted oven? I mean, that's what I would lean toward.
Anyway,
based on these books.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Well, I would say sleep in tomorrow and don't open up your bakery. That's
Wait,
you can't
there
be
were
serving these.
several murders were committed in my oven. Maybe that's it. Yeah.
No funeral. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and thanks for everyone on Patreon who supports the podcast. It's we'll have a lot more to uncover next year. The bar has been raised in this final episode for crazy stuff that can happen here on the podcast.
Don't use too much cream in your buttercream, everyone. Come on. Be cozy. So long.
Bye.